Alright, week 5 of spring anime. There's more characters, more story progressions, everything seems to keep going pretty well. So let's start off with Vivy, Fluorite Eyes Song, episode 7. So we get a new OP, which is pretty crazy, because then we see Vivy, she gets a cool white outfit, and pretty much a whole character upgrade here, where she's just like this confident singer. She's wearing these white boots, these black leggings, has this big idol white cape, and is just like super confident on stage because she's made it to the main stage. Like, we don't know how much time has passed so far, but damn, Vivi got a whole glow up right here. So she turned into this whole confident AI girl, looking like a snack, as we see the ominous radio tower just like growing in the back. So yeah, the AI human war seems to still be progressing. So the new situation that we have to fix in this timeline saving mission, it has to do with the Zodiac Signs Festival. So I guess there's this big festival. A lot of people are singing and stuff on a big stage. The theme is like all kind of zodiac signs, so that's interesting. And we meet a bunch of cool idol singers. And the main girl is Ophelia. She's a nervous little girl. She's based on Vivy, so she's a Vivy model, but just like a little younger. She has long black hair. She sings really well, but she's just like really nervous all the time, just stumbling, falling, and just like making mistakes. So it's kind of cute. It's probably not part of her programming, but we can see like all of these idols have more personality traits now as like we advance further into the future. So it's like they're kind of indistinguishable from like real people. And then we see Vivi, she does stuff like stretching, putting on makeup. So it's like, damn, we came a long way with episode 1 Vivi being like this monotonous robot, and now she's like a huge famous personality. Also, when Ophelia and Vivi were talking, she name drops how Vivi is 61 years old now. But yeah, that's a crazy amount of time skips. It started off in the beginning with the politician. We added 5 years for the space hotel, and then we added 15 years for this island metal float. So that was 20 years ago. So there's basically a 40-year time skip to get to the 61-year mark. But then when they were doing dress rehearsal stuff today, she sees this guy she saved. So she ends the rehearsal and goes to chase after him. And then she's in this like warehouse hallway where a bunch of stuff just like falls on her. So she activates combat mode and dodges them. And then she meets Matsumoto, who also helps her. The thing is, she doesn't recognize Matsumoto. So she really does have a split personality here, and she's like 100% diva now for years. But then diva always felt there was like something missing. Like, oh yeah, I remember all these things about my past, but I'm like suppressing them, and I don't know why. So they didn't really tell us what happened, but Vivi like feels that something's wrong, so she needs answers. So she chases after Matsumoto. He still doesn't tell her anything, so she jumps off a building. And then Matsumoto's like, yo, and then he rescues her. And he tells us about how like when Vivi got rebooted, so we don't know what happened, but she got rebooted one time, and then that resulted in her Vivi personality being suppressed, and she just turned into diva. So she still remembers these things, it's just like in the back of her head. So yeah, Vivi and Matsumoto keep talking. We still don't know the full details on what happened to Vivi in these 40 years. But then we basically get their new mission now on how to like slow down the AI evolution. Well, over here, their mission is to stop an AI from committing suicide. So yeah, it's not a combat mission this time. It's like a kind of emotional type of mission where that girl Ophelia, that nervous long black-haired sister, apparently she made a mistake at the Zodiac Signs Festival. Maybe she was too nervous, she couldn't sing properly. So then she just decided to kill herself. And then we end the episode there. Cliffhanger, AI suicide. Alright, that's a cool type of mission. I guess the biggest question we have in this episode though is like, why Vivi turned into diva now for like 40 years. So right now that makes it so we have an amnesia subplot happening, so we have to resolve that as well as like saving Ophelia from committing suicide. Okay, and now for a 2-year eternity episode 4. We leave off with the immortal saving March from that big bear, that Oniguma spirit. So his name is Fushi, which is I guess the immortal, and they're basically following that evil girl Hayase to her village. So then Hayase tells us about the ritual, why they were doing it, because their village, it was kind of backwards. So they were trying to take over the land, but they were like doing it very slowly. So they're from this bigger town called Yanome, and they basically convinced the village to do these sacrifices. And the village is paying the people to sacrifice because they're like, okay, we'll charge you for the sacrifices. We'll do it easily and cleanly for you. And then your village will be protected from all the evil spirits. So it's like a lose-lose situation. They're losing money, and they're like losing people in the village for free. But the fact that March, the older girl, and the immortal know all of this, it means that they're taken prisoner. So they're not taken prisoner yet. They explore the town of Yanome. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of food. There's a lot of like business. They like write letters. The thing is, while they're eating in a restaurant, they get sleeping pilled and then taken prisoner. And they're basically like using the immortal. They see that, oh, he has like pretty good combat prowess, but then only March can control him. So March and the Immortal are hanging out, while the older girl is like hatching up a escape plan. We see March taking care of the Oniguma spirit, because I don't think he died yet, but we can see that like people were attacking him because they were scared of him. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff happened this episode. We get a cool new setting, like a new, more advanced village. And then we see Hayase and the people in this town, they're kind of evil, trying to take the other people's land. So then the older girl, she's like pretty badass. Because we see in her backstory, one of her friends, she was chosen to be sacrificed. She ran away with her, and then they were just hiding out. And then the village basically murdered her for like escaping the sacrifice ritual. So that's why she wanted to save March, because the same thing happened to her in her past. And then yeah, she has like a single arrow, and she's scaling off this roof, climbing with like these wooden shaft and a bunch of rope to basically like climb her way throughout this prison. So we see her, she almost falls while scaling the outside of the prison, but then she recovers, takes a guard outfit, and then goes to rescue March. So I'm really loving the badass female characters here. This episode we went to Yanome. We heard about Yanome's evil plot to take all their land in this fake sacrifice ritual. All of our good characters go to jail, and then the older girl is going to rescue everyone. Okay, so for Shadow's House episode 5, a lot of dark stuff happened in this episode as we go into the testing ground where Amilico and her master and a bunch of the other younger dolls are going to be tested to see if they're good enough to stay in the family, if they can mimic their master as well as possible. But before that, we see the night before all the other dolls interacting with their masters. So this was kind of a cool character rundown to see who's evil and who's good, since basically the dolls and masters have different personalities usually. So we basically have double the characters to keep track of. Some of the interesting ones are Mia and her master. Mia's already a fully fledged doll, but then her master wants her to be a star bearer. So her master's putting all this pressure onto her, and then she beats her with this wooden club. So that's crazy. Every time Mia makes a mistake, her master just beats her up and Mia just like bears it. So yeah, there were a bunch of scars on her body we saw earlier. Well, this is why. Her master is pretty much just like power hungry and evil. Also, we see Ricky and Patrick, the blonde doll, and then he's pretty evil as well. He just like looks down on people below him, and then he just wants to rise up the ranks. So yeah, this toxic ranking system, it keeps like making an appearance. All these dolls just like attacking each other, trying to like get a head up on the ladder. We also see Lou and Louie. Lou is Amilico's other friend. She has red hair, but then her master seems like very narcissistic. She sees herself in Lou, so she's just like really obsessed with making her look pretty just because it's a reflection of herself. We see Rum and her master. We don't know her master's name, but her master's pretty quiet, so it's like pretty much the exact same as Rum. They're both just like quiet girls. And then we see Sean and John. They're both pretty cool. So yeah, the night before everyone's chilling, but yeah, Amilico and her master Kate, they don't really have a good link together. They have like pretty much opposite personalities. Kate is pretty quiet, and Amilico's just like trying to help others and look out for other people instead of like her master Kate. So that kind of gets Kate a bit angry because it's like Amilico's talking to the other dolls instead of helping serve Kate. So yeah, the testing begins. They basically go in this room followed by this dude Edward, who's like a higher up doll made by the grandfather. And he looks pretty evil. He has like this white spiky hair and this nice yellow patterned suit. And then their test is basically an improv party where they just have to pretend to act properly. They can eat food, they can dance, they can talk to each other. But the whole test is to make sure the doll and the master, they're like in sync with each other. So their testing metric is basically these dolls. And then they basically rise a rank or fall a rank depending on how well they do. So if you make a mistake when you talk, if you don't know something, or if you like just talk to other people instead of following your master properly, then all of that like will make you go up or down. So yeah, again, a lot of people have anxiety. Amilico and Kate are just like making mistakes all the time. But then once they dance together, Kate realizes that she's in the wrong. She should be helping Amilico, and then if they both try together, then they can do it. So then Kate can also control the soot, which is like a pretty interesting power she has. So she's using that to help Amilico dance with her. So yeah, pretty interesting improv party where they're just like acting as they would in real life. And they're all like under huge pressure to perform well. In the end, all the shadows kind of complain about Edward because he's just like disrespecting them and stuff. So and he's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's all go to the garden. So he leads all the shadows into the garden to show them something. And then we end the episode there, as the dolls are actually left behind. So the dolls are chilling in the party room, while the shadows are following Edward into this mysterious garden. So he's probably going to show them something bad. since, you know, the horror themes are coming through. There's something about this mansion that just like doesn't seem right. Just like being on top, you gotta sabotage the other people. So this mock test is still not over. And I guess the biggest thing is we see how much different the shadow personalities are to their actual self. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to see how this testing goes. See if all the dolls make it through, or if any of the dolls get rejected. Okay, so for Tokyo Revengers, episode 5. An insane episode, we get some more gang shit, as well as the story just like keeps progressing with Takemichi, Mikey, and Draken. So we're in the present time right now. Takemichi gets fired since he's been out a whole week. So then he asks Naoto, hey, why don't I tell Hina, you're gonna die on this day, so just be careful, I'm from the future and everything. And then Naoto's like, bro, don't take the easy way out. So he doesn't really give us a good reason why he shouldn't tell Hina this, but then he says that she just won't believe you and think you're crazy. And I thought that was kind of skeptical because, Hina would believe Takemichi if he tells her that he's from the future. But yeah, Takemichi can't take the easy way out, and he still has to find a way to save Draken from dying. So then they go look at the history, see how Draken died. And then it says that he died because of disagreement between Draken and Mikey, both of their factions. And then Draken just got murdered in this huge gang fight happening in a few weeks. So Takemichi was kind of confused why Draken and Mikey would fight, because they're both pretty close. So then Takemichi goes back in time to find out more and basically save everyone's lives. But then once he goes back in time, the first thing that happens, a hot girl in her underwear is just like sitting on him. And they seem to be in like some karaoke place, some club. Just like a private room while Takemichi's about to get laid. And it was like this hot blonde girl. But then he just runs away. And then he's like all confused, how did this happen? Because he's in a week in the future from like what happened last episode. And then he bumps into Hinata. So kind of awkward there. He got to explain himself. Yo, I'm not nervous. I wasn't just like cheating on you or anything. And then this is pretty interesting because Hina sees that Takemichi's back to normal. And she's like, in the past week or the past 2 weeks, you seem to be like distant and cold, not talking to me. So that's pretty interesting. It seems that once he goes back into the future, the past version of Takemichi just lives his life on autopilot. He's not like the same dude that wants to better himself. He's just like this kind of loser wannabe dude that's just like scared of everything. They're explaining more about how this time travel works. It's still very flimsy, there's a bunch of holes. So then after that, Takemichi gets a call from Draken where they're having a big gang meeting. So yeah, Takemichi goes there with Hinata. And then we see a bunch of these motorcycle gang members out here. So yeah, Mikey and Draken seem to have like a huge gang at their disposal. And then we also see a new girl, Emma. She's Draken's girlfriend. That blonde girl. And then that was the girl that we saw that was on top of Takemichi. So then Hinata realizes this. She hits Takemichi and like gets a bit angry. But then it's explained that Draken's like too busy involved in his gang stuff. So he doesn't really pay attention to Emma. So Emma was kind of jealous. So she tried to get back at him by like getting laid with Takemichi. So it's all explained why that like stuff happened in the beginning. Anyway, after that, like the biggest thing happened here where they talk about a rival gang called Mobius. And this gang is pretty savage. They're like an evil gang that just like murder and rape people. Where I think like they have factions now. So our gang, the Manji gang, is from Shibuya. And then this Mobius gang is from Shinjuku. And basically the Mobius gang beat up this guy's friend from the Manji gang. And then they didn't really only do that. There was a small disagreement. And then they beat him up. They raped his girl. They robbed him. They took all his money. And then they killed his whole family. So talk about escalation. This middle school gang, I think it's 2 generations above, so they might not be middle schoolers anymore. But yeah, just like rape, murder, robbery. That's crazy. But yeah, that's like the gang stuff I was expecting in the series. So yeah, they schedule a fight with them on August 3rd, which is coincidentally the date that Draken died. Takemichi got to do something about this, because he probably died in this gang fight. So then Takemichi decides to be Draken's bodyguard. But Dragon's like, what are you gonna do? You're not strong enough to be my bodyguard. So he gets rejected, but then he decides to just follow him everywhere. It looks like Draken is just like Mikey's caretaker, like his older brother type of guy. Where like Mikey's like very childish still, even though he's like really tough. So then they go to the hospital together, where they see the girl that got beaten up by the Mobius gang. And then this is like a huge thing about Draken. And then why his death kind of changed Mikey. Because Draken is Mikey's heart. So Mikey is like really strong, really tough, a good leader. But he's still really childish. Like these dudes are still in middle school. So Draken's like that bigger, stronger like wall that Mikey has. That kind of like leads him to the right way. So I wonder what Takemichi can do to save him. Because once you save Draken, that's like a huge timeline shifting event coming on. Okay, so for 86 episode 5, this episode was kind of huge in terms of this like plot development. Throwing a wedge in this whole war, but just like kind of unexpected. I thought we got everything, But no, there's just like so much more stuff that was like unrevealed and given to us this episode. So first off, we see that Lena, when she was younger and her helicopter crashed with her dad, and she was just being attacked by all these legions, she was saved by Shin's brother, the older Noisen. His name is Shure, and he basically saved Lena. So then Lena working with Shin in the present time is kind of like a cool coincidence because like she met his brother. But then it's kind of sad because then it's implied that his brother died when Lena and Shin were talking on the parade. And then Shin seems to be looking for him. And then after that we get some details where Lena's a researcher friend. She tells her don't overuse the parade too much because Lena's like using it every day. Because it causes stress on your brain trying to transmit this data. Because it's not like a typical cell phone type of thing. It's like literally like brain to brain type of communication, I guess. So yeah, that's interesting. Lena and Shin were talking about this huge party that was going to happen in the kingdom. They get interrupted by an attack by the Legion. So Lena keeps asking this question, how does Shin know the Legion are coming before anyone else does? And then it's revealed that Shin can hear them talking. Like they're controlling the brains of these dead drones, the 86ers. And they're kind of copying them. So basically like kind of a big swerve. We thought in the beginning it was robots versus robots, but then we realized it's people versus robots, and now it's kind of more like it's people versus people, just inside these robots. So then after all the fighting happens, Lena gets kind of like traumatized because she's hearing these voices in the parade, and it's just like giving her PTSD, hearing all these people, their final words, so like, Mom, Dad, I don't want to die, stuff like that. So yeah, Lena is not prepared for this. And then yeah, after the battle, Shin kind of talks to Lena about like what all of this is about. So huge important plot dump right here. Just like changes the whole way we see the show. Because right now the legions are running, and then their CPU, it accesses their brain, and it has like a 6-year lifespan. So yeah, after 2 more years, they're all just gonna die out. But then that's the thing, there are like these black sheep that are legions that change their brain to human brains. So then they kind of like take the brains off the dead people. So that expands their lifespan to like 6 more years or whatever. So as they kill more people, they kind of just like grow. So while Lena and everyone in the main kingdom, they think everything's going fine, the number of legions are shrinking, Shin is actually saying the opposite. They're growing, and they're becoming smarter. And then Shin can hear them because he almost died. So basically he came back from the brink of death, so he can hear all the voices of the dead people from really far away. Shin is also saying that these black sheep, they're controlled by these shepherds that are actually like humans that are alive. But basically this war that's supposedly supposed to be over in 2 years, they're going to lose the war because they're just sending these orphan kids out to fight. And they're basically not going to be able to defeat the Legion army. So then the Legion is going to grow. They're not going to expire in 6 years. And basically the whole kingdom, regions 1 to 86, it's all going to come crumbling down. We find this out. It's kind of curious why Shin knows all of this, but then doesn't talk to anyone about it. I guess it's like kind of inevitable, like no one's gonna listen to him since he's part of the 86ers. Lena decides, hey, we can't let this happen. We gotta win the war. We'll look for the commander, we'll look for the shepherds, we'll take them out. And basically the legions will like lose their intelligence, so it'll be easier to fight them. So yeah, we got another cool plot point. We gotta stop the war in a year, or everyone will die. And then it's heavily implied that Shin's brother Shure, he's a commander, he's a shepherd, so I guess he was like taken alive, and now he's controlling some of the legions. And Lena and Shin are probably going to work together to end this war, so good luck to them. Okay, so for Joran, the Princess of Snow and Blood, episode 6. A pretty cool episode, a bunch of cool stuff happened, and I was kind of anticipating what happened because of all the death we had in the previous episode. She ate that poison medicine given by Asahi and dies, but this is a big plan by Asahi. She didn't really die. This medicine basically stopped her heart for a few hours, to basically make it look like she's knocked out and dead. And then when the people bury her, basically she's freed from being an assassin because it's like people think she's dead. So Asahi basically faked Yuki's death, giving Yuki a way to escape and just like having a new life for these two sisters. So then Asahi has to do her best job at acting because Jin comes in, and then he basically confirms that Yuki's dead. So he goes to bury the body. So yeah, they go to the graveyard, Yuki gets buried, and then Jin kind of sees Yuki's bird like hovering around. So maybe he seems like a bit suspicious that maybe she's still alive. But yeah, he goes away, and Asi's just chilling there all crying. But then yeah, she digs her out while everyone leaves, and they go make their way to the EY prefecture to live a new life for the both of them. But yeah, I'm kind of skeptical. It's not going to work out like that, because you're basically the main character, Sawa, so after that we see like there's an uprising with the government. Just like everyone's angry because all the taxes are raised. It's like the typical, we see like the industrialization, the government's profiting a lot from this industry, but then all the normal people, they're just like suffering a lot. And then the shogun is trying to like suppress this uprising, so like he has all the military police just like attack them. And then Jin is basically like their dog. He has to like listen to them. So yeah, Jin seems like a tough samurai type of guy. But then he kind of has to transition his life into serving the shogun and just like fighting all these government uprisers. So we see Jin kind of hates his job, how he has to attack like the innocent normal people that are protesting. Also, the other girl, Makoto, who got her arm cut off, she escapes the hospital, and we see her. She has a bunch of these drugs. It looks like kind of related to the blue blood. So I'm curious to see where all of that goes. And it's kind of interesting to see like the actual villain of this world is the government. Okay, so for Fruits Basket, the final episode 5. Another emotional episode, as we get some more plot points, some more broken bonds. So first we get the dog zodiac Shigure. He kind of wants to change Akito because he sees that her current personality, her just being attached to everyone, just being all crazy, it's not healthy for her. So he's trying to neglect her to try to change her. The next thing that happens is Momichi, the blonde dude that was like really short and flamboyant. He actually grew up. He got a whole glow up. He got taller and his voice got deeper. He's still kind of nice and cheerful and everything. Holds Toru's hand and stuff. But he's basically like this older dude now. And his bond broke with Akito. So basically he's kind of free from her. He sees her for what she really is. And then the big thing is that Momochi can actually like have a relationship with Toru now. They can actually hold each other since he's not bonded to the Zodiac anymore. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to do his boy Kyo dirty. But then he's basically telling Kyo, you gotta hurry up and break the bond yourself, or else you're just gonna get left behind. There's probably gonna be some obstacles on the way, but the bonds are quickly breaking as we continue on with the season. Okay, and now for I Killed Slimes for 300 Years, episode 5. So in this episode, it's focused on Halkara again. There's a ghost in her factory, so she has to work overtime. She's all tired because all the factory workers are running away scared. And then Azusa and Halkara are really scared of ghosts, so then they summon Beelzebub to help them. So yeah, it's our team of Beelzebub, Halkara, and Azusa. They go to the factory at night to try to find the ghost. So it's pretty funny seeing them all scared and Beelzebub trying her best not to be annoyed by them. But yeah, we finally see the ghost. Her name is Rosalie. She's a cute blonde ghost that committed suicide because her parents kind of sold her out. So now she's kind of like rude and angry. But then Azusa kind of convinces her that even though you're a ghost, like there's more you can see in the world. So you don't have to be binded here. So then they find a loophole where if the ghost possesses someone, then it can go to the same places that that person they possess went to. So they decide to have her possess Halkara, which is pretty funny because Halkara is really scared of ghosts. But yeah, Rosalie possesses Halkara. It goes pretty well, but the thing is she can't leave Halkara's body. So we have this huge montage of them going through like a bunch of activities trying to separate them, trying to scare her, trying to like ritual sacrifice her, trying to exorcise her, doing a lot of stuff, but the ghost does not leave. So then they try everything they can think of, but then they finally put her to sleep with alcohol. Because then when Halkara drinks alcohol, she's just like knocked out pretty fast. So they finally solved the problem. They saved Halkara, and then they rescued Rosalie. So she's now living in the house. She's helping out now. She works in the factory. And then she's like a nice ghost. So she helps like clean the village and stuff as well. So yeah, pretty funny episode. And they're just like keep introducing us to these new characters. Rosalie the ghost, who committed suicide, but she doesn't want to leave the world. Okay, and now to end it off with Ijiranaide, Nagatoro-san, episode 5. So a bunch of skits this episode again. Some of them were kind of repeated gags we saw before, but yeah, here we go. One, Nagatoro gets a bad dream of the blonde girls taking the senpai, and then she wakes up from the dream and sees that she's still in the art room falling asleep, and the senpai put a blanket over her. After that, they kind of go to a tickle fight, where Nagatoro teases the senpai, oh, are you sensitive? So she tickles him, and then senpai's like, okay, I gotta tickle you back as revenge. The thing is, like, he's about to do it. He's about to tickle her armpit right here. So for you armpit fetishists over here, he's going for it. But then she stops him, like, halfway. So that was pretty lame how Nagatoro puts on the teasing, but she can't take it herself. Anyway, after that we get another skit where Nagatoro tries to cut his hair, because he has, like, this big puffy afro going on. But then she gets interrupted, she leaves the room, and the other girls come in, the blonde girls, and they tease the senpai again. But then yeah, Nagatoro comes back. He avoids getting his head shaved. So after that, our final bit that we have here is they go wait in line for ice cream. And it's a long line for like this famous ice cream place. The thing is like it's really hot, so while they're waiting in line, Nagatoro gets dehydrated. So then they go to get convenience store ice cream, and then they like hang out at a park. So that was kind of cute. They had a plan for ice cream, but then they get convenience store ice cream instead. So after that, they got kind of close, so they shared phone numbers. So that was kind of cool. But then Nagatoro kind of had to ruin the moment again because she texts the senpai and tells him that he's a perv. So yeah, this episode was pretty fun. Just like more repetitive stuff, but I guess they toned down the sexualness a bit. And it was more of them just like doing cool stuff to strengthen their friendship.